so we can start now.
Leaving the door? Are you leaving the door open?
We're streaming, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for coming to the Northwest Pinball and Arcade Show. I'm Jerry Thompson, the seminar organizer, and we've got a raffle prize upstairs you may have seen when you walked in. It's Whoa Nellie, big juicy melons, and we're going to give that away tomorrow afternoon. And these guys are responsible for that game, and they'll tell you a little bit about the connection to the show and how it came about. Please welcome Dennis Nordman and Greg Freres.
Thank you. Thank you. And just in case you're confused, I'm Greg, that's Dennis. So yeah, we're gonna kind of go through a brief history of the backstory of the project known as Whoa Nellie Big Juicy Melons. At one time in 2009, it was also called Project X because we weren't sure exactly what it was going to be called, but for now, it's Whoa Nellie Big Juicy Melons, and welcome to it. So some people ask us, you know, where does this style develop from? And if anybody here came to our earlier seminar, you kind of got the backstory of the history of our work together. And so we bring all that history into a place, you know, that is now. And, you know, we just bring this wacky, knucklehead kind of style to our work that we enjoy. And we just hope there's an audience that enjoys it as much as we do. So we enjoy working in pairs. And what? And so, you know, Elvira was an amazing pair back in the history of the games that we've worked on.
Pair of games, he means.
That's what, yeah, we got it. And so, you know, that kind of sensibility towards, you know, the finer things in life. And then, you know, of course, before we worked together, we had history before we worked together. So I started out as Harlem Globetrotters was the first game I ever did artwork for at Bally. So, you know, there's a footnote on that. If Jay was here, it'd be like, well, skateball, didn't you do skateball first and then Harlem Globetrotters? Well, yes, but Harlem Globetrotters was the first game that I did all the artwork on and it got produced. So that was my first project. And then everybody, you know, over the years has learned to love Fathom. It was a very low run game, but the artwork, you know, Paul Freres was just here. If anybody watched Paul Freres, instrumental in pushing me to do the best I could do on Fathom. He really, you know, art directed me as that was his job, and he really art directed me well on that project to bring out the best that I could do. So I owe a lot to Paul on Fathom for pushing me harder and harder than, you know, maybe you know, just to get the job done. Oh, it's 5 o'clock, got to get out of here. You know, I pushed it beyond and tried to do one of the better games that I had done up until that point, and I really appreciate Paul for pushing me on that. I've also worked with Steve Ritchie. This was the first Steve Ritchie game I worked on, and I've also now worked on a subsequent Star Trek project with Steve. So, you know, that was exciting to work with Steve for the first time. He knew my history of working on games that had a sense of humor, and I've said this before at other shows, but I'll say it again in case you haven't heard it. He said, I want to work with you, but I don't want any funny stuff on my game. And I said, well, you know, it's Star Trek, don't worry about it. So anyway, sorry for any Star Trek fans out there. I didn't mean to offend anybody. But so, you know, and then the second game with Steve obviously was No Fear, where I said, now since we did a game without any funny stuff, can we at least bring some funny stuff back into this game? And he said, yeah, sure, let's go for it. So No Fear features Steve and I working together in the best way we can, and it's a challenging game. It's pretty exciting. Revenge from Mars, last game I did at Williams, big project, whole nother story. But you know, that was a turning point in my career for many reasons, and out of my control. And you know, it was a project that was near and dear to all of our hearts, and it's been documented over and over, even in a documentary. So you know, I'm fond of that game, and I think the result of it was well received, and wish we could have done more like it. And earlier today we talked about the unique cabinet that Dennis brought to Bally when he came from Ohio. So these are kind of pictures of that cabinet.
This was a project I did in college in my senior year in industrial design, and I built the model on the right for my class project, and I got an A on it. And then this was my second year as a senior. I had to leave school to have back surgery. So during that summer, when I was recovering, I built a full-size version of the cabinet, and that's the one on the left. I took it to Schaefer Distributing in Columbus, and they thought it was pretty cool. And at that time, Chuck Farmer had been president of Schaefer Distributing, but he had moved to Bally and was president of the Bally Pinball Division. So I got an appointment, and I hauled it up to Bally, and they hired me. And that's how I got my start in the pinball industry.
And you redid the Demolition Man on there later, right?
Yeah, the Demolition Man I put on later. It was just all black before when I did it in school. So the Demolition Man stuff I added after I did Demolition Man, of course. What was I going to say? So they hired me as a cabinet designer. So the very first cabinet that kind of evolved from this was the rapid fire cabinet.
And kind of 8-Ball Deluxe too, right?
8-Ball Deluxe limited edition, because they had rapid fire cabinets left over and didn't know what to do with them.
And really, when you think about it, let's tie that back into Whoa Nellie. There's Whoa Nellie when you think about it. The base
My
crate.
pedestal.
Yeah, the
idea,
pedestal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that kind of came full circle. There's
Then my very first game, Special Force, was I worked at Bally for a year. I met my wife there, and within a year I was laid off with Ward Pemberton and some other people, I think. And so I was out of pinball for a year or two. I don't remember what I did exactly. I think I tried to do some redemption games, but everybody had left Bensonville and moved to Franklin Park in that building on Grand Avenue.
Yeah,
and my wife was still working there. So I thought, well, I'm going to try to design a pinball game, and I got hired back at Bally. I just brought a poster of all kinds of special forces, soldiers and stuff, and brochures that I got from the recruiting office, and they hired me based on that. So that was my very first pinball game. And then Demolition Man, that was when I was at Williams. That was my first wide body game.
Super Pin.
Super Pin, and a nice flowing game, I think. A lot of combo shots on that game. It was fun designing a game, trying to make use of all that space that you had in a wide body.
And just as a side note, the licensor got over-involved in the art direction on this, and everybody had to be treated equally, all these actors. So that's why there's 3 giant heads on the back glass. They finally got to a point where they said, we have to have them all equal weight, all equal balance, and they kept saying, make them bigger, make them bigger. And so we have these giant heads, and you know, it's just things that happen with certain licenses, and that's the way it goes.
Doug Watson did that artwork, and he said it was a huge headache working with those people.
Well, actually,
A huge headache.
Wow. He actually dumped, I think, off the back glass because he was so fed up, and we had to put Linda Deal on it to finish it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was you know, there are headaches, but we get through them.
Pirates, my first game after being out of pinball for a while, I did a stint at IGT designing slot machines, but to me, pinball games was so much more fun, so I was able to get back into Stern, and I guess Roger got the license for Pirates of the Caribbean, so I was excited to do that. So that was my first game after probably 4 or 5 years out of the industry.
And a good game it is. And of course, earlier, if you came earlier today, our first collaboration was on Party Animal with Pat McMahon as the artist. And it was an interesting game, and we had fun putting it together and creating something wacky and fun. And I think that's the first time our ideas came together pretty well to create a fun and inviting game. And then, of course, we moved on to Dr. Dude, which we talked about earlier. Dr. Dude, and there again is one of the original sketches where I hadn't quite finalized the doctor's hairdo yet, so that looks kind of like a swirly or something.
Looks like you got stuck
there.
in a tornado.
Yeah, or something. But anyway, that's kind of where I started, and then we worked together on Party Zone. That was the whole Party series, and of course, Elvira and the Party Monsters, and then Scared Stiff. So that's just a brief overview of the history of us before we formed Whiz Bang Pinball. So back in 2009 we were here, and we hadn't seen each other for a couple of years and hadn't worked together for a while.
Greg was in Midway doing video games, and I was at Stern doing pinball games.
And yeah, so when we got here, we talked to a lot of different people and met a lot of great people. I mean, this is one of our favorite shows. The pinball community out here is amazing, and we appreciate all of that. We thank you. But when we started talking to people, we were starting to hear about people that were putting together custom games, and this word really, like, when I heard that, I was like, wow, so I'm a little underemployed right now, and Dennis might be a little underemployed, so maybe there's something to this custom thing. So we thought about it further, and before we left town, we drove our Woody in front of the Mecca Cafe. No, that's not really our Woody, but I found this picture on the internet, so thanks to whoever owns that Woody. And we had lunch on June 14th of 2009 when the show was wrapping up, or breakfast actually. We had a hearty breakfast, as you can see, at the Mecca Cafe. And he and I were, the night before, of course, I got to get this lousy joke in there. The night before, I was so excited by this idea of custom games.
Oh, this
I couldn't sleep. So I was sleepless in Seattle. But no, I literally tossed and turned, and I kept thinking, well, we could go this way, we could do this direction, we could do something. Oh my gosh, there's something here. I got to share this with Dennis. So that's when we had breakfast, and I said, hey, I got this idea. And Dennis seemed to like it, as according to this picture. So we flew home really fast and very stealthily, and because we didn't want anybody to know we were working on anything, right? So we didn't create Whiz Bang Pinball immediately, but that's, once we had to figure out, okay, this is a real business, we got to protect ourselves. So, Whiz Bang Pinball, TM, LLC, get all that stuff squared away before we start going too far into this thing. So, and then, of course, there's always time for flashbacks, and flashbacks can be fun, so we're going to share that with you now. So in 2006, there was a great Art of Pinball show in downstate Illinois, and the curator of the show did a wonderful job of presenting not only pinball machines with the help of local collectors, but original artwork by John Yowsey, myself, Paul Freres, a few other people got involved too. And it was in a museum, a real legitimate art museum, where when I walked in, there was a Marie Cassatt on one wall, and then I turned the corner, and there's my Star Trek Next Generation painting. And I was like, whew, I'm not even dead yet. So, that was exciting. So, anyway, we met there again, and we hadn't seen each other in probably since Scared Stiff,
Yeah.
It was a long time. And Dennis kind of took a liking to this game. And
I just liked the cabinet because it was strange.
Yep, and the retro, you're attracted
Yeah.
to the retro quality. So we actually bought that game from the show. And so from 2006 until 2009, that thing sat in his garage with nothing to do. So we actually used Continental Cafe as our base game to hot
Because
rod.
we had no money. We didn't really know what we were doing, actually, and how we were going to accomplish it. But we knew we couldn't afford a programmer, so that's why we decided, well, let's try to customize an EM game. And for us, in the beginning, it was just really going to be a work of art. In fact, we talked about, well, maybe we can get into the art galleries, and we can get pinball back into art galleries. And there was no big plans to take deposits and make games.
Yeah, we really thought at first maybe this is just a one-off.
Yeah.
As time went on, things developed. It wasn't like we had this immediate plan right from the get-go. We took our time and we really tried to figure out what this was going to be by taking it a baby steps at a time, rather than just going, okay, let's make however many games we can make. So obviously now that you've seen and played, hopefully you've seen and played Whoa, Nellie, you can see from Continental Cafe that Dennis truly did create a new playfield layout from the original. So we brought this thing, we didn't know enough or anything about EMs, so we brought this to one of the team EM guys local to us, Ken Walker, and he was instrumental in, first of all, getting the thing to work, because it had sat in Dennis's garage for enough time that it just wasn't even working anymore. So as a good EM guy, he diagnosed it and got it running pretty quickly. And
Outside in his backyard on a nice sunny day.
yeah, we really thank him too, because he was instrumental in becoming one of our guys that helped get this to the finish line.
And I think our goal at this point was just to take everything off the playfield. We're just going to re-art the playfield and build a new cabinet with the crate cabinet idea.
And this is a little bit of a, this is kind of cool, because that's a handwritten, probably a line okay, thing from putting his initials and the data in there in 1956. And, we wanted to document that, that game is what has become one of the 4 games that we built ourselves. And the cabinet, has some of the original parts in it, and then others that we've bought and what have you. But we ended up making one EM game to start with, and then as time went on, I'll talk about that, where we created the 3 solid state games.
Somewhere along the line, we decided that it's going to be more beneficial if we build more than one game to get the playfields printed and everything. So then we started trying to acquire more Continental Cafes.
So Dennis came at me with the pitch, and we had a list a mile long. There had to be 150 themes that we were thinking about, and we just we couldn't narrow it down. There's so many good ideas, and we would have had to live like another 50 years or 100 years to be able to get all those ideas moving forward. So Dennis came at me with the pitch, and and again, this is both of our brains working together, but he came in with this initial pitch. He said, we both like fruit crate labels from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s because they're so stunning. This is a nice compilation of fruit crate labels from back in the day. and they are stunning. They were truly works of art. And back then, you know, it was point of purchase. It was people would go to the market and buy their produce, you know, buyers for bigger places or stores or whatever, and you know, all these growers were competing for the eye of the buyers. So we definitely, you know, picked up on that and wanted to, you know, go with that. So that was the first part of Dennis's pitch to me. And then he said, I've always enjoyed Roy Parker's artwork. Everybody, how do you say it? Everybody.
Happy people.
Yeah. Everybody on a Roy Parker back glass is having a good time. And we wanted to make sure we carried that tradition from, you know, the old school pinball design and art style to this game. So, because we were really trying to capture the essence of a little bit of everything here. It's kind of a mashup, including pinup art. So, you know, it's our take on old school pinball art along with pinup art, you know, and fruit crate labels. So that's the mashup happening. And then, you know, with my design sensibilities and Dennis's skills with a hammer, you know, that's what got us to Whoa Nellie. And you know, it's amazing to look back on it now and think that, you know, this all started here with us getting excited about other people doing projects themselves. So this is actually the first sketch that Dennis did to show me. He called me out to his house to give me this pitch, and this was the image he showed me of the cabinet, and immediately it was like, yeah, that's it. And it's just amazing to see this, and now to see the finished product, and how well it held up, and yet how much we also have embellished it as well. You know, I immediately went home from that meeting that we had and started sketching ideas, and obviously it says 1-2 players, and Dennis called me after we started iterating on this a bit and said, hey, you want more room for artwork? You want to make it a 1-player game? And I was like, sure. So that was the only reason why we switched to a 1-player game. It did make it slightly easier to make the EM game into a 1-player game, but that probably complicated it. Actually.
That complicated it, I think.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how to do it. And who helped us with that? Steve Sharland had some initial suggestions on how to do it.
Yeah. Plus about 20 more suggestions of, you know, what could be done. But and again, you know, we couldn't have done this without people around us, of course. That's a given in this business. So starts the garage phase. Now that we've got the concept laid out and we're both excited about the concept, you know, Dennis's garage phase started. He started, you know, taking the Continental Cafe cabinet and chopping it, literally. This is a hot rod, so he chopped it, and which led to new complications and stuff like that. But you know, this was a starting point. He sanded it down, got the old graphics off of it. Luckily, the weather was good. Want to explain the?
So on the upper left there is where I was working on all the trim pieces and distressing the wood, and I made this little device with nuts and bolts and stuff all over. I just kept whacking on the wood, used a wire brush, stomped on it in the gravel in my little work area there, just to make it look like an old beat up fruit crate. And then attached it to the cabinet. The cabinet I cut down, I made it just a rectangle. It doesn't have a sloped top, so it looked more like a crate. Doing that screwed up the geometry of the push button ball lift that the game had at that time. So I bought a special bit for my router, and I made a jig and a fixture so I could reroute that groove in the side of the cabinet for the ball, and plunged the router through and forgot to set the depth on the router and went all the way through the cabinet. Thank God my leg wasn't sitting right there. So then I had to fill it with Bondo and start all over again. So we make mistakes, a lot of mistakes.
We. No, we do.
These are actual real fruit crate labels. These just amazed me.
Yeah, so the base crate started. You can see the 2x4. Dennis said, yeah, to get the rake on the angle for the cabinet, we'll put a 2x4 in there. And then later,
The idea was like if some farmer built this game out of old junk he had
Right.
laying around.
right. And later on, I said, you know, for that rake, to fine tune that rake, wouldn't the farmer, after he's done with his beer and he's looking at it, wouldn't he like crush that beer can and just stick that in there for the fine tuning of the perfect angle? And so, you know, that just put the icing on the cake. We get so many comments about that beer can on there, and you know, it's just one of those things where as you progress, you come up with new and better ideas to make the game better.
You know, when you're starting a game or designing, it's never finished in the beginning. It's just an idea, a concept, and it evolves and develops as you move along. You don't always know where you're going and what's going to happen. There's always a lot of happy accidents.
So going back, that crate was just a rough cut of the crate, and then, and then he put the slats on there to make it look like there was actually produce inside the cabinet, so that worked out well. I put no legs on there because we've now had this far enough along where we brought it to Pinball Expo in Chicago in 2009 in October. And the first thing everybody said when they saw the cabinet sitting on the base crate was, well, when are you going to put the legs on?
Yeah, where's the legs?
Yeah, where are your legs? And we're like, well, it doesn't have legs, it's sitting on the crate. So a lot of people had trouble wrapping their brain around that. A pinball cabinet without legs was foreign to everybody, and so it was a bit tough selling them that, you know, this could work like this.
No, it works because I have rubber vibration mounts. There's 4 vibration mounts that mount the cabinet to the crate, so you can still wiggle it and shake it and nudge it.
It feels a bit like it's on legs and gives you a little bit of English for you know, nudging the game. And being as old school of a design this is, the nudging is an important factor in this game. Yeah, artwork started to develop. Obviously, you can see a front decal on that base crate over there. You know, this is an interesting shot. This is one of the other cabinets that we acquired for Continental Cafe. So, you know, you can see a lot has changed from the original cabinet that we started with to the, but you can still see, you know, some similarities because here's the door, and the door is still there, but, you know, we disguised it, and it's a little bit different. You know, of course, like I said earlier, help is important in this industry, and getting something started like this. Both Mark Wayna and Ken Walker were instrumental in getting this thing to where it is today. And we, you know, they were the EM gurus that helped us get that first EM game up and running. So, and that required a lot of labor. And when I first asked them as the business side of things, I said, how long do you think this is going to take, you know, to be able to wire up from the old game to the new play field? And they're like, well, it's hard to estimate, you know, things could go wrong and we could have to, you know, troubleshoot. And so I never got a really solid estimate from them, which, you know, was troubling because, you know, I wanted to have like, okay, it's going to take us 3 weeks if we work 4 hours a day or whatever it was. But they were hesitant, and now I know why, because there was a lot of labor that went into this to get this old EM transferred into our new cabinet with our new play field and get everything rewired properly. So it was a labor of love from a lot of people here, including ourselves. You know, things don't always start, like Dennis said, things don't always start and finish the same way. So on the left is Dennis's first layout.
At some point we realized that we shouldn't just re-art an old EM game. Greg said, we're game designers. We should do something different with the playfield. So the one on the left is my first attempt to change it. The original Continental Cafe had 3 gobble holes, and I knew I didn't want to have 3 gobble holes in the game. So the one on the left is my first rearrangement. Very EM-like, very symmetrical. And I think Mark Wayna is the one that suggested that I group the pop bumpers together. The way this game played, the pop bumpers, there was not a lot of action. They were pretty slow, and I didn't even know if it would work if you grouped the pop bumpers together, but he said, no, I think it'll be cool. You should do that. So I changed the entire play field again, and so the one on the right is probably pretty close to the final play field.
If not dead on. And we left the one gobble hole on the 4 games that we built. When we brought it to Stern, that was a different story. We'll talk about that in a minute. But again, just the time-consuming labor to go from 0 to something was all-consuming, and we can't thank Mark and Ken and other people enough to get it that way. Here it's taking shape. We're starting to get more graphics going. We're experimenting with cabinet decals, red background versus blue background. Showed it to people, showed it to my family. Got votes, opinions, and we ended up with the blue one. But the red one looks nice too. So could have gone either way on that one. We brought it up to Milwaukee to the MGC show in 2010, and it was a flipping whitewood. It didn't. I don't even think it scored.
I don't remember if it scored or not.
Yeah, maybe it did. But yeah, I think it did.
But everything worked on the play field.
Yeah, everything worked, and those are some famous hands there. Those are Roger Sharp's hands, and he even threw in a suggestion and said, I think you need another rollover switch over here. So we thought, yeah, probably, because it was the far left shot. So you could take a shot up like the left orbit would be on other games. We needed another scoring moment there, coming out of the bumpers or into the bumpers. So we added that. We attracted a pretty good audience at this first flip, and the guy standing looking at us with the badge on is Kerry Imming, and at the time he's a Minnesota resident. He came to us after he saw this, and he said, I've been trying to convert my EMs to solid state games, and I've got a system called PinKit that is capable of doing this, and this would be a great test bed for me to test it out if you guys are willing to, go with that. And I said, sure, Kerry. I'd never met him before. I said, hello? Yep. What do we got? Wow. I must
Greg's hard on batteries.
I must talk a lot or something. What's up with that? Can y'all hear me? It's a good time. All right. I'll talk loud for a minute. So Kerry said, hey, I got this system. Do you want to try it? And I'll use it as a test bed. And I said, sure. How much? And he said, no. I need to test this for my own reasons, and I just want to make sure it works. So we definitely moved that forward, even though everything he said to me, I was like a dog, I was like, my head was doing this, and he's talking technical, and I'm just like, hey, okay, good. It sounds good. Let's see what you got. So he had a play field that he used as a test unit, and we found out that he found out that his theory would work, and so we moved forward with the development of his board set in a modular setting with Cat5 cables, and it's similar to what Stern also developed for their system in the modular system that it is.
We didn't really want to go through building. I think at that point we had 4 Continental Cafes, and I don't think we wanted to go through building 4 EM versions of that game. That was such a pain in the ass to do that.
This, it generated so much excitement. We had a lot of people coming at us and saying, hey, why don't we build 50 in Dennis's garage? Hey, everybody had ideas of how to take this into a bigger audience. And we just wanted to remain in control and just take it slow and one step at a time. So, we tried to listen to the best ideas, but move it forward with caution. I am, by nature, a very cautious person. To this day, my kids say the thing they remember most from Dad when they were little was, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. So just by nature, I can be a very cautious person. And as a business owner with Whizbang, I didn't want to take any risks or chances. So one step at a time, you know, slow, steady progress. And there's Roger playing the game and obviously looking like he's having a good time. And I think he was having a good time. So that all worked out. Ken Walker, proud of the accomplishment that, you know, he and Mark put this thing together with the wiring and got it working, and, you know, everybody was happy. And it was time to move it along. So, you know, I'm going to fast forward here. This is a picture that Jim Shelberg took of us with one of the finished games that is out there.
Stern made this game.
No, that's the.
Oh, that's one of our games?
That's one of our games. And boy, it looks like the Stern game though, doesn't it? And so, you know, we wanted to document one of these in full and make sure that we had that before we started the Stern project. The amazing thing is, it's like, you know, we look at that picture and go, wow, that was a lot of work, you know. Well, now we bring it to Stern, and now the work happens all over again, and it's a different kind of work, and it's, you know, but it's the same type of babysitting and moving things forward on a day-to-day basis, slowly, you know, too slowly according to this guy over here. But, you know, we're now working with a corporation, and things don't happen overnight, you know. So first thing we had to do was sell that concept to Gary, and we brought it in, and I think Gary was won over to the idea pretty quickly, which was surprising and very happily surprising for us. But it took a while to get it into the pipeline, because they knew they wanted to put it on the spike system. The spike system was going to be the modular design, and they just wanted to make sure they could build it when the spikes, after the spike system was came out. So we got that through Gary, and we were very happy for that. And this is also another instrumental person. This is Darren Sheldon from downstate Illinois, and he is one of our 4 Nellie owners. He allowed us to keep his game in my office at Stern for almost 2 years, if not 2 years. And talk about generosity, he had already paid in full, and he said, no, you're keeping it safe. Don't worry about it. I know you're not putting a lot of plays on it. I'm all good with that. He said, if you need to take it to a show to show people the game, I'm fine with that. Everything was cool with him. The other thing is, all 4 owners, as we progressed the project, we made certain that once we knew that we wanted to reach a bigger audience, we made damn sure to talk to these 4 owners first and say, are you guys okay if we take this to a bigger audience and maybe have somebody produce it for us? And all 4 of them were like, yep, we just like the project so much, we wanted to be part of it from the beginning, and, you know, we appreciate you asking, but yes, they basically said go for it. So and they were all happy that, you know, we were able to take it to the next level.
And their games are the 4 hand-built games that Greg and I and Mark and Ken all built with some other volunteer help. I built all 4 cabinets. I got really sick of doing production work after a while, but it was only 4, so it wasn't that bad. But their 4 games are still very different from the Stern games. They have the carry, aiming hardware. They still have the ball serve button on the front, and they don't have nearly as much sounds and speech and music as the Stern game versions do. The
ball serve, the mechanical ball serve mech, was the first thing to go.
We had people at shows, even older people, that had no idea how to get the ball into the shooter lane.
Yeah, we learned that over taking our games to shows and having to tell people, oh yeah, you got to push that in, okay. And then the other thing that went pretty quickly was the gobble hole. Too many people at shows, we were, you know, manning the booth and, you know, talking the game up and chatting everybody up, and we'd get hey, something's wrong with the game.
I lost my ball,
I
didn't
lost
come
my
back."
ball, didn't get popped back out. And we're like, well, it's a gobble hole. So in the 1950s, and then we'd go into a thing about gobble holes. And so yeah, we found that to take this to a bigger audience and to make it a street piece, we want this game to be operated. It is still very artful in the way Stern presents it now, but we want the game to be operated. So that's why there's a coin door on it automatically. And these were all things we talked about with Stern too. Is it going to have a coin door or not? All this kind of stuff. Are the legs going to be an option? Is the crate going to be an option? These are all decisions that were made over a period of time once we got, the okay and the agreement signed with Stern. So, but anyway, Darren was very instrumental. The other big factor here is Tom Copera. He's a mechanical engineer for Stern Pinball, a freelancer that does a lot of work for Stern Pinball, and he to get that game from where what we brought in to the finish line at Stern, mechanically speaking, was just an amazing feat in the time that he did it in, and also to get it engineered to fit in the shipping box that Stern uses every day and all day.
Standard shipping box.
We did not want to pay more money for a non-standard shipping box. We did not want to have to ship the base crate separately, so he engineered this thing to make sure that the box that it's delivered in, all the parts fit in it, and that helped keep costs down, and he did a lot of good stuff to get the heat. Now, there's also some funny moments too. We told him that the finish on the cabinet, we wanted brown stain on the back box, we wanted gray stain on the cabinet, the main cabinet, and brown stain on the base crate. And he just looked at me like, why? And I said, well, because it gives it more of a farmer-built touch, Not everything matches, not everything has to match. He goes, in my world it does. And we were like, well, Tom, just trust us on this. It gives it a nice random look, and it's different than other things, and it's something you don't expect. So he finally agreed to let us do that, and he got the colors on the drawings properly.
Go back to that cabinet
Sure.
one more time. That is our special stealth version of the cabinet.
Oh,
That's the cabinet that you see on the floor out here, but it's the very first one, and they just painted everything black.
Right. So John Trudeau helped too. He's working at Stern, and his first project was to take Dennis's AutoCAD drawing and turn it into a SolidWorks drawing, because everything at Stern is now done in SolidWorks. So that was John's first work at Stern, and then he handed that off to Tom Copera for the rest of the trip. This is a shot of the first whitewood that was built up, and we did not have the correct flippers yet, so we just put standard Stern flippers on this just to take this picture, but this was not operating yet. It was not wired up yet, but that's a shot of the first whitewood. Pretty much the same layout that you saw earlier, and the gobble hole is gone. There's an eject hole there, and we spent a lot of time on that eject hole, getting that tweaked out. So this is a beauty shot of Dennis's cabinet. And this was one of the things that we talked to George early about. Going into production, that there's going to be trade-offs and changes to be able to get this thing to the production line. And we said, with George at the helm, we said, how are we going to take what he did and turn it into something that's mass-produced? And he was like, don't worry about it, it'll work. So he and Tom ended up talking to a specialty wood house that can create texture. And we told them we wanted it weathered, and we gave them, the colors for the stain. And so, when you look at this beauty shot from Dennis's game, there's plenty of similarities with what's sitting on the floor out there. We believe that Stern and Tom Copera and George Gomez, you know, and Churchill Cabinets, the people that make our cabinets, all did a great job in bringing the fit and finish of this piece to the finish line. We just think it really does, you know, match our vision of what we, you know, designed earlier on. And there, yeah, there's the stealth cabinet.
Okay.
Yeah, and, everybody, you know, obviously everybody in-house knew what we were working on, but, you know, the cabinet company wasn't quite tuned in yet as to what we exactly were doing. And I remember somebody from Churchill coming over to go, what exactly is this, you know? So we walked through the process with them. This is the white wood just placed in the cabinet to make sure everything's fitting properly. The board set is beginning to be, you know, the hardware into the back box. The speakers fire down, that was George Gomez's idea. Instead of having a separate box on top, we fire the speakers downward to reflect off the glass. And again, if you've already played the game or haven't played it yet, pay attention to that now, because that reflection is perfect. It's got great sound. I think Jerry, who did our sound for us, agrees that, you know, everything's nicely balanced and that reflection off the glass works pretty well. So, and they didn't mount the spike board in yet, so I put a picture of Spike in the back box just for this picture. So, hey, maybe he'll become our mascot, huh? So, you know, and once you bring it in-house, you've got people that are instrumental in the background of all of our games. Dave Cadeau, the guy directly in the center facing us, is in our build-up room, and he builds up every game that we work on, and you know, and grumbles about how designers, you know, don't know what they're doing. But no, he's a great guy, and he gets a lot done. And Pat Powers, if you own a Stern game, you may have already talked to Pat Powers, maybe once or twice. He's instrumental in making sure our customers are happy and taking care of any problems in the field. Paul Mandeltort has worked with Stern Pinball in different capacities already in a very brief amount of time. And Reina Cortez works on the wiring. She designs the wiring harnesses for all of our games, and she does great work, and just you know, one of those professionals that, you know, kind of behind the scenes that you don't hear enough about, but all these people are key in bringing any game to the production line. Once we started, we knew that there was going to be some modifications that would need to be made. One of the things, the back glass got a little bit bigger. Again, Tom Copera wanted the back box to be fairly standard, or not standard, but the right size and for everything that he needed to put in there. So he increased the size of the back glass a little bit, and the back box as well. So that was a little bit of extra work that I hadn't planned on, but you know, no problem. We got it done. It gave us a little more room for the match lights up at the top. So that was all good. The stealth cabinet now has a base crate. You know, the first shot at the base crate before, you know, before it gets too far along. Tom Copera again has to figure out how that's going to get assembled, because we got to fit all of that in the standard Stern box. So, you know, a lot of behind the scenes effort. You can see in the background there, the back glass is, here, let me use this. The back glass is just a little bit short of, so that's the size of the back glass difference there, that little span. So, just a minor detail. We get the back glass printed outside the company, and we take the back box to the printer to do a press proof to make sure the colors are great. I'm really proud of this back glass, not only for the art's sake, but for the printing. It's a beautiful print job. If you look at it in a line of other pinballs, it really has richness and depth, and it works really well with our spike lighting system. So we're real happy about that. How are we doing on time? Everything good?
About 15 minutes.
Okay, we're good. So this was the tweaking we talked about. We spent probably about 4 or 5 hours playing the game, just shooting the gobble hole, the eject hole shot over and over again, because the first pass of it wasn't quite what we wanted it to be.
Well, the ball wouldn't stop. It wouldn't get sucked into the hole. It wouldn't stay. We tried all kinds of different angles on the backstop and everything. We still couldn't get it to be consistent, and we finally decided we had to make a channel behind the eject hole for the ball to roll in and then roll forward to
absorb some energy. Yeah, otherwise it was just kind of rimming in and out. We started getting wood samples in with the finish that we wanted and the colors that we wanted. And once we approved that, this is another bad joke. This morning at Stern, instead of shipping this to our wood vendor, Churchill Cabinets, this load of wood got shipped to Stern. So this is the morning when I said, yeah, Stern woke up with wood. And a lot of it. So this was all the trim wood that came in for not only the base crate, but for the main crate and the game crate and the back box as well. So now we had to get this reshipped to Churchill so that they could sort through it and start building games. Dennis and I spent quite a few hours with Churchill Cabinets in getting these first cabinets built up, because this was all new to them. They build our standard Stern cabinets all day long, and they know what they're doing, and we get those delivered every day, all day, and this cabinet was completely different. So
they have a lot of jigs and fixtures they use to help them build the cabinets and set them up so they can whip through them quicker and faster, and there were no jigs and fixtures for this game.
Right, the efficiency level of this game was quite different for them than for a standard Stern cabinet. This is the weathered trim. And the funny thing is, the first 6 games we built were built with colors swapped. So the back boxes and base crates were gray, and the main cabinet was brown. And it took us a while to go, oh yeah, that's not what we asked for. So somewhere in the world there will be about 6 cabinets with the colors of the stains swapped.
We didn't think it was all that important for a while. We thought, okay, we'll accept it, till we looked at Greg's decal on the front of the game, and that decal had gray trim on it.
And it had to match.
It had to be changed.
Right. And so, things are coming to fruition here. Everything that, as our concept grew, this is it at Churchill Cabinets coming together. Dennis is, getting in their way, telling them what to do, make it better, make it better, make it better. And they're like, oh, come on, man. We just want to make a cabinet. And hey, look who's here, Brad Grant. The funny thing is, when we built those 4 cabinets, people were asking us, hey, are you going to make a kit? And we sat around a table one night.
We toyed with that for a long time, too.
Yeah, and we had a meeting. Finally, we had a meeting and said, well, kit, yeah, this, that. We kind of were getting there. And then all of a sudden I said, who's going to be the 1-800 number when people have questions about this kit? And we all looked at each other and, nope, not me, not me. So we didn't do a kit. But we had leftover parts that people on the internet were interested in acquiring. Brad was one of them. One of the first people to call us, hey, do you got extra parts and stuff? And so, and you got to remember, we made extra back glasses, extra play fields. We've been selling those, and that was to help fund the first 4 games that we built. So we sold off packages of back glasses and decals and play fields, plastics, and people started building their own. And Brad is the first person to build a Whoa Nellie out in California, and we got to see that last year, and it was an amazing feat. Nice work, Brad. He's here today. So thanks for that. So yeah, avid people, knowing that they wanted to be part of this, they wanted to have something to do, with this, and it gave you something to do, didn't it?
There's another Continental Cafe beside that. Where is that game?
That was a buddy. He brought it into the show.
Oh, so you could show them together?
Yeah. He's going to try and do the same.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah. there's
guy.
somebody else in New Jersey
Built
that
one.
Yep. And Chris Wright and Blair Wright are also going to try to build their own too, right here in Seattle. We've got, those are our 3 solid state games all together.
They're all, each one, the cabinet styling is a little bit different, the coloring's a little bit different.
Yeah,
on
they're
each
all a
one.
little unique. We did an outdoor shoot on November 16th in the Chicago area, actually in Wisconsin. And it was a little cold that day, but we got through it, and our model got through it, and that's a poster that we've created just as a memory. It kind of was meant to be kind of a brochure, but not really a flyer. But that was a fun day. We had a great time, and Chuck from Spooky Pinball helped us with that, and ended up, he knew the model, she lived in town, and he said, she could be a great Melanie for you guys, so the rest is history. Here's the production line. These are the first sample cabinets and sample games.
Here
that
you
were
can
being
see
built.
you can see the decal difference on the front with the gray slats and the brown cabinet.
Right, exactly. So this was exciting to start to see this stuff come in for production, and we went over for a press proof. Dennis is giving it a thumbs up. This is only symbolic. We actually thumbs down this because for some reason the guys that ordered the ink ordered a metallic instead of the brown. It became a metallic color, so that's like a metallic gold on the ground. And we were like, this is not an LE edition here, So we said, no, we can't have metallic. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And so they had to sand those down and start from scratch. And then sweating the details. We're out on the line. Dennis is, making some finishing touches before the game went to Las Vegas for the show down there. The second game went to the Texas Pinball Festival. So, this is all early production development. This is the first days of the prototypes being built. We were all out there making sure everything looked good according to plan. Bigfoot showed up to give his blessing. I can't tell if he's happy or sad, but that's Bigfoot. Don Thorne, another behind-the-scenes person you don't hear of very often. Don runs our factory, and he's out there looking at Nellie going, hey, what about this? So he's real good at what he does, and we just wanted to make sure that he got recognized too. Al Dale, kind of a freelancer for Stern, but bringing operations in and helping to make sure that operations at Stern overall, the umbrella of operations, gets a good start under the new management that Stern was, became under once Dave Peterson came on board. And that's Raina, I think, checking out her wiring harness on the first boards, whitewoods that are being built, or not whitewoods, but production games that are being built. This is, Tom again putting a crate together for the photo shoot game, and Dennis, were you doing karaoke without a microphone? I'm not sure what's going on there.
Tom was showing me how those crates go together.
And then there we go. We get to Texas, this year, and we got a really warm response from everybody in Texas. People, and this is the whole thing of this game. Everybody sees it online. Everybody sees pictures, but until they see the game in person, that's why we're here. We want to make sure that everybody knows what this game is about and why it's so fun and why it's why it's priced the way it's priced. One of the big pushbacks we got was the price of the game, but once you play it, once you feel it, once you touch it, once you hear it, it all comes together, and we couldn't be more proud. We brought it up to Milwaukee after Texas, and got to shoot it. Kerry Imming actually shooting the game there, seeing the differences from what he helped us build to what we also have now. Uris Purins standing there watching, the guy with the blue shirt on. He's one of our first Whoa Nellie buyers, and he's also buying the production game. So, you know, he's fun. This is an alternate use. A lot of people in Milwaukee realized, hey, this game is great for playing for dollars. So, oh wait, can I say that? But anyway, we use the crate as a way to, you know, okay, we're not really playing for dollars. So here it is, real pinball. Mark Wayna called me one day and said, you got to get out to the line and get a picture of this. And when I saw what he was talking about, I was like, wow, that, to me, that just says it all. You know, it's that is the epitome of throwback right there. And to see that in the Stern facility, like, just woof, it's good stuff. We're harvesting play fields here. They're all coming together. These are actually the screened play fields. The first 6 games we take to shows, or took to shows, were digitally printed. But these are 11 colors, silk screen, spot color. They're beautiful. Gary Stern can't help but thank me for doing the most beautiful play field he's seen in a long time. And coming from Gary Stern, hey, that's a good thing for me. I'm an employee, so I really appreciate that Gary likes the look and feel of this game. The final test line at Melrose, this was when we were starting to wind down. This, you know, here there's a lot missing from the background because this was the final days at the Melrose facility, Melrose Park, Illinois, that is. And, you know, so these were some of the final games being put together in Melrose Park, and that is the last game in Melrose Park. I think Mark Wayna documented the serial number. Hey, I just thought of something.
I did too.
I'll share that later. Maybe it's that game that's out of. So, anyway.
Here's what I just thought of. That I'm the guy that did the last game at Bally and the last game at Melrose Park.
Wait, Bally. Which one?
Blackwater 100.
Oh, there, yeah. Yeah.
I wonder what that means. Nothing, probably.
Yeah. So there, it looks like April 10th, 2015. First cabinet, no, April 19th, I think it was. First cabinets in Elk Grove. This is our new facility. Can't see anything very well, but this is the new facility. It's much larger, much cleaner, much brighter. Good for everybody. It's great, and it's good to see that we have room to store cabinets before we have to start assembling everything. These are the first play fields coming down the line in Elk Grove. Jack Benson is one of our newer software employees, and he's done a great job of bringing this game to the finish line. You know, he's new, he's young, he's fresh, he's excited, and he's a great pinball player. So he brings all that, and it's really helped the game be what it is today. But us old guys are teaching him a thing or two too. So, you know, we've got a good relationship, and he knows we're old and we know he's young, so it all works out. Oh, and they're probably laughing at something that is never going to be in the game, so I just want to throw that out. This is Jack and Barty. Barty does final inspection on the line, and Jack is telling her, no, this is the latest code update, believe me, and it's not the last, but it's the latest. And so he's, you know, working with her. She's really good. She's a good final inspector. She knows what's wrong, what's right. So she's done a good job. Steve Martin, I hired Steven about 2 years ago to help out with production graphics, and he does a lot of the brochure work for us, and a lot of behind-the-scenes effort comes out of Steven. He's a workhorse, he's a bulldog, and he catches a lot of glitches that I might not have caught, and he's a good guy to have around. And we don't always drink at work. Don't think that was at the pinball banquet, so there's no drinking at work yet. And of course, I can't say enough about the music that we got through Jerry, local guy Ratia, and you know, we really want to thank him for his help. He actually is the voice of a couple of the characters in the game, the DJ and the surly dad, the Papa Leroy. He's both characters, and they sound great. And so we want to thank Jerry for doing that. You can click that sound thing there.
You're about as sharp as a pinball.
So that's Jerry doing Papa Leroy. That's Melanie's surly Papa. So,
Oh, lighten up, Daddy.
yeah, Jessica Rowe, she's amazing. You know, when Jerry sent us different samples of different voice talent, when we heard her voice, it was the clarity and the youthfulness, and yet, you know, we just wanted her to sound great and without any connotations. She is just there to sell melons, and there's nothing else about her. She's not trying to seduce anybody. It's just melons. So we really appreciate what she brought to the unit too. So yeah, play those together. Play Jerry's first and then play hers.
You're about as sharp as a pinball.
Oh, lighten up, Daddy.
So, you know, there's a little banter that we have programmed into the game. So every once in a while you hear a couple of the characters talking to each other. And our email system broke down, and I never got the picture of Rod to put here. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Rod Olson that you don't know and love. Huh? You got it right. And so, yeah, that is Crazy Guy Farmhand, that voiced by Rod Olson. And when we started getting the files from Jerry, we couldn't get enough of Rod's voice. We said, we need more of that. We need crazier stuff, because he morphed from being the drunk guy at the bottom of the playfield that we initially wrote lines for, to this guy on the back glass that is, and today we figured out that this guy on the back glass is also the drunk guy on the playfield at the end of the day. So Rod we just kept asking for more. His stuff got over the top, and is Rod here? No. Well,
This is something we didn't even plan for. It's
Right.
another one of those happy accidents. It all happened because of Rod and Rod's voice that he did. And we thought, whoa, he's got to be the crazy guy.
yeah. So there's a sample there. You can click that.
I like big melons and I cannot lie.
So, see, I still laugh, and I've heard it a million times. When I was putting this PowerPoint presentation together, I'd click it and click it and click it.
Doesn't take much
No,
to make us laugh.
no, it doesn't. But we also want to point out some things about the game that not everybody understands until they see the game in person, but maybe you wouldn't even see this in person because the crate is hidden by the main cabinet. These are the rubber engine mounts that Dennis was talking about earlier that give a little English to the game when it sits on the crate. So you can still provide the nudging necessary to get the ball where you want it when it needs to go there, and we show a little flexibility in that rubber mount just to show you that there's some room to move there. We also want to show you that some people don't understand that there are actually leg levelers on the base crate. So you can adjust the pitch of the game accordingly with the leg levelers on the base crate. We also put a decal on the cabinet under the hand protector that says the optimal playing angle is 4 degrees. We now disagree with that. To get a snappy playing game, we really think it should be 5.5, maybe 6. But that's all dependent on how you like your game to play. But one of the resounding comments we continue to hear, and heard it many times here today, many times in Texas, we didn't know what this game was until now. Now that we are seeing and playing it, we now understand what this game is, how it plays, why it plays like it does, and it's that's something that we want to continue to educate everybody in the pinball community, that this game isn't what you think it is just by the pictures that you see, right?
Right. A lot of people thought, oh, look at that, it just plays like an EM. I don't like EMs, they're slow. But it's a fusion between EM games and modern games. And you can make it play as fast and snappy as you want by changing the angle and changing the flipper power. You can do that in the software. So my idea for this game was just to create something that everybody could have fun on. It's not intimidating when you walk up to it and look at it and don't know what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to shoot at. My goal was to try to get more newer casual players into pinball. And I think that's what this game actually does. And you have to actually play it to realize that it's really fun. And if you could score 5,000 on this game, you're doing really good. So people of different skill levels can compete equally on this game. And that's why I think the arcade, what's the name of the arcade?
Adaball?
Adaball. It's being proven out is that people realize that it's just simple fun to play, and all you got to try to do is get the high score.
Yeah, we're that's one thing that it's a social game. We're seeing more people want to play it as a group rather than just a solo game. And because somebody might, but most people won't have a 20-minute ball time on this game. That creates a more social environment for the game because you're on and off of the game, pretty quickly. So we're happy about that. The game is shipping now. If you want to order a game, call your local distributor. We're making them, we're shipping them, and it's all good. So and just so everybody knows, I'll announce it here again. The game that's on the floor, there is a glitchy problem with the ones reel and the credit reel. We've been trying to diagnose that with the help of Jerry and other folks here at the show. That game is going to go back to Stern. So if you win that game with your ticket tomorrow, it's not that game you're getting. It's a new in-box game from Stern, and we'll make sure that's fully tested and approved as it goes out the door. But you won't be getting this game because this game is going to go back home and get looked at, and so
we haven't seen this problem on any of the other games.
Yeah,
so we don't quite know.
We want to make sure that any issues are all resolved as we move forward into production, because we see a multi-year sell-through on this with people learning about it as they see it, and we think this could be a bit of an evergreen, project where it may sell for years rather than just get rid of a bunch like an LE or whatever, and then we're done with it. So, and that's the other thing I want to clarify. It's not a limited edition game. We'll sell as many as the market will bear. So, so cheers. We've had a great time putting this thing together. We're happy that Seattle was the birthplace of the seed, at least, of the idea. Someday we may have a pale blonde ale to go along with the can. Right now, anybody that ordered the first 74 games, they didn't get the front legs that get attached when you put it on the base crate. You don't want your holes for the leg bolts sticking out. So we do have a kit going out for the people that did not get those 4 pieces of wood that go on the game to cover the leg bolt hole, or replace the wood with the leg bolt holes in it. And you will get a beer can uncrushed in that kit, along with a software upgrade wherever we're at with the software at that point in time. So those are coming out. If you already own a WOW Nellie and need that stuff, make sure you call your distributor and get on that list. And we do have a limited supply, unfortunately, of T-shirts available at Marco's booth. However, we have run out of the pint glasses and the coffee mugs, and so unfortunately, you'll be able to get those on the Stern site when they get reordered. But right now, we're out of stock on that. So please bear with us. I wish we could have had both of those products here at the show, but it didn't happen. So we want to make sure you get what you want.
Instead of the beverage glass, it's going to be a mason jar.
Yeah, we're gonna push for a mason jar next time. So I think that's more appropriate for the theme. But thanks for listening. You can get more branded merchandise, and there's more things to come too. Some of them will be kind of a surprise. Others will be, just usable merchandise that's good to use. And then if you want classic Whoa Nellie swag, go to Pinball Life. Terry's got some stuff on Pinball Life. T-shirts, back glasses from the original run. We're running low on those. So if you want a back glass from the original run, we're almost out of stock on those. So go to Pinball Life for other good stuff. And thanks for having us. Cue the music. So long, folks. Do we have time? Oh, wait. Let it run. Let it run. Sorry.
Thanks for stopping by the melon farm. You come back now, you hear? Well, not every game can last forever. Well, the melons were good while they lasted. Y'all come back now, you hear?
All right, Jerry, that's enough.
See you again soon. Thanks for stopping by the melon farm.
Thanks, Jerry.
Tell your friends to come check out our melons.
We will. No problem. We'll let them know.
See you next time.
All right.
Okay.
See you, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Okay. Sayonara.
So long.
All right.
Sayonara.
Oh.
See you later, partner.
Okay. See ya. Good seeing you.
Thank you for checking out our melons today. Tell your friends where the good melons are.
All right. Let's wrap that up. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a good trip to the melon farm.
I think we're there. Thank you very much.
Well, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay.
How hard it is to set up the game? What do you gotta do to set it up?
What?
If you get one at home, get one shipped to you, how do you set it up? The crates first or the?
Yeah, you build the crate. No, you actually put the game on legs, build the crate, slide the crate under the game, take the legs off.
And those mounts line up with holes in the bottom of the main cabinet, and you just get those lined up, and you take the legs off, and
How's the back of the box itself?
that's separate.
It's separate, it
Yeah,
bolts
it's-
on.
it's not a-
It's not hinged.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not like a regular stern cabinet. So it bolts on. There's a neck that has to go together. There's two parts to the neck that bring it up the distance that the speakers need. So, yeah.
What does the game weigh compared to other stern games?
I don't know. I think it's about the same.
Same.
Same weight. He's asking what the weight of the game is. I think it's about the same weight as a standard stern game. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir, back there.
Anything else for Whizbang?
Maybe. Someday. We'd like to. Any other questions? Anyway, if you haven't played it, get out there. It's fun to play. It's fun to compete. We had fun putting it together. We hope you have fun playing it. Thanks again.